Hello, beautiful souls. I hope you're well. Today, in our creative intuitive transmission, we will be exploring the notion of terrestrial longing for source, or put in another way, how we can sometimes be in a position when we are in third density, in a state of longing for the energy of source or the high frequencies of source. And this is will be illustrated and discussed a little bit further, not only with the analysis of our the creation that we've done today, which is entitled Maltenon, and you can see the artwork here on my right. And but before we actually have a look at the artwork itself, as usual, I will explore with you the music and the background here that gives us some clues as to what the frequencies we want to share today. So first of all, the first piece of music that I was inspired to me by my inner guidance or higher self is a song by the singer Karen Ann. And the title of this song is Not Going Anywhere. And it's a beautiful song, folk, acoustic folk type of song that that's very well written, very poetic, very beautiful, with beautiful metaphors. And the main message, or the what comes out of this song, not only in terms of the music, which is a little bit melancholic, but also the words, obviously, translate this state of longing, a state of longing for someone, someone who's not here anymore, an absent person. It can be a lover. It can be, probably in the song, it's about a loved one. I don't know if it's a lover but it's really about this longing for this element of love of a loved one. And I think there's there's different ways in which you can interpret this. You can see this on the basic level of the first level, which would be the longing for a real person, maybe a lover or a parent or whatever. But it can also be seen on the second level, having to do with a longing for source, for you know some call it God. I'm not a religious person, so but I tend to use the word source because it's more encompassing for me. And so there's, we all have sometimes longing for this profound connection of love, and sometimes it's with a person, an incarnated person, but sometimes it also symbolizes a form of longing for this connection with source or higher frequencies, or sometimes even the fractal of source that we are, that sometimes we don't feel connected to. And then it becomes a kind of existential kind of suffering, because we feel we're disconnected, that we're separated from source, or from the loved one, or from love within us as a fractal of source. So it can be, and it's a great suffering. It's a great suffering that it's in a way self-imposed, because even if we can lose someone, a loved one, in real life, in 3D life, there is always within us the capacity to reconnect with the fractal of source that we are, and thus with source itself. And so it's an invitation through the expression of longing and this melancholic music that deep down we're not so alone. So that's an element there. The second piece of music that was inspired to me is a beautiful piece of classical music by Johann Sebastian Bach. It's one of my favorite classical pieces of music. It's from Saint Matthew Passion. The exact title is Saint Matthew Passion BWV 244, number 3, chorale, and in German it's Herzliebster Jesu, which, if we translate it in English, is Jesus most dear to my heart, or Yeshua. Like I said, I'm not a religious person, so nor Christian, neither Christian nor anything else. So, but I do I'm able to extract still from religious practices or religious music, like it's the case in Bach music, which is always sacred music. It was composed in the sacred context, a religious context. In this case, telling the story of the Passion of Jesus, how Jesus was, the end of his life. Well, the official one, because we know there's something else there. But let's say, in the current beliefs of what happened to Jesus, he was crucified and everything. This is an element from this art, this musical piece. And this piece speaks mostly about the questioning of the chorale or the singers or the composer is like, what have you done wrong so that such a harsh judgment is pronounced? What is your guilt? In what sort of wrongdoing have you been caught? I'm not a big fan of these words. I find them very heavy and, with a Christian message. And like I've said, I'm not so much of a religious person in general. So I will take this interpretation of this piece of music to kind of a second level there, where it's really about, I would stick to the title, which is Jesus or Yeshua, most dear to my heart. And there's that element of, in this case, of a situation where we can imagine through the song and the words that Jesus is in a state of suffering because he's going through that horrible last period of his life where he's going through torment and suffering, physical. But if we remember from the stories of the Bible or whatever, there's moments when Jesus is wondering, like he's questioning he's not questioning his faith, but he's going through very rough times, and there's moments when he wants to really, really connect with what he calls his father or God. And so again, I find that interesting that in this piece of music, again, there is this beautiful question of the longing or the melancholy or the suffering related to being on Terra, being on Earth in circumstances that can be challenging. In the first song, it was about losing a loved one or not being connected to a loved one. And the second one, obviously, this horrible torture and difficult, challenging situation Yeshua is going through. And there is this longing for perhaps this connection to source to be amplified, to be stronger, to be there for them. And well, this is not said in the first song, but this is what we can imagine, that there is this tendency when we're suffering to long for the loved one that will bring us the high frequency, that source energy and everything. So I think that's interesting. Personally, I resonate very much with this piece of music by Bach, which I always found, because it's kind of a chorus or refrain that keeps coming back, and I find it quite beautiful because it has this softness, this almost mother-like loving energy that envelops us through the words and the music. I find is very calming and beautiful, like a mother's lullaby a little bit. And I've always associated this particular element of Saint Matthew's Passion, this chorale, with a motherly energy that surrounds us with love and protects us when we feel the most vulnerable. And I find it interesting that I associate it with female because as a Pleiadian or Manahu myself, in the life I was before here, for the Manahu, creator or source is actually personified or sensed as a female energy, which they call Imana. And I refer to you, Elena Denan, for more information about this, because she talks about these really interesting elements. But there's that notion for me, and always kind of been, that the creator is actually a feminine energy, something that's also corroborated by Alex Collier in his discussion with the Andromedan as a extraterrestrial contactee. Anyway, that's another story. But the female energy, the creator energy, being loving and enveloping, is something that for me is really translated in that beautiful piece of music, this beautiful chorale in the Saint Matthew Passion. So again, an invitation to perhaps not stay in the suffering, in the longing, in the melancholy, but to remind ourselves that we are a fractal of source and that we are connected to that creative energy, that loving energy that's just pure love, and that staying in the longing, staying in the disconnection and the separation with source is probably not the most efficient way to live in high frequencies. And it's so we're all invited to go within and connect with that sacred part of ourselves, which is, connected to source. Another element present in this CIT, in this creative intuitive transmission, is the background here, which I found was interesting because, again, we have here these statues of Easter Island, which are very well known, but we don't really know, in which context they were created. But they're like these beautiful, in this context of the CIT, I see them as these beautiful ancient sacred beings, which we all are as fractals of source in a way, but that are kind of stuck in stone in a way, and that are on earth, stuck in a density while they're looking at the sky, looking at the stars or at the moon in this case, and kind of longing, through, what perhaps they're connected to, but there's a feeling of separateness and this how can I say, this incarnation into the stone, into the really heavy density of matter. We could interpret that as sometimes the suffering we feel from not being in our high frequencies, which are much lighter and more ethereal in a way. So I find this symbol here interesting, of these statues kind of stuck in stone on Terra in this density, but there's this longing for the stars, for creator, for source there, which they look up to. So I think, again, it's interesting, and again, an invitation to remind ourselves that the sacred is within, and we can all be a form of antenna to actually anchor, translate, and transmit high frequencies. We all are. It's something I have at heart, but it's not just, everybody can be that. Everybody can be that transmitter and then be connected to source. So I think that's a very encouraging and beautiful thing to remember. Now, let's look at our creation here, Maltenon. So as you can see here, as I've created with the Japanese washi shiogami paper collages here, I've chosen it doesn't show, perhaps it looks like it's black, but it's actually navy blue, a background with golden and silver little flowers here, which also could be interpreted as stars. And this really reminds me, because of the intense presence of gold, of the presence of source. And, as always in my CITs, source is represented by gold. And so in this interesting background, there's a navy blue background, which could relate perhaps to this element of sky and this element of transcendence, but also perhaps to, the expression being blue, when we feel a little bit sad or melancholic, then, there is that element there. But then on top of this blue background, there's these golden and silver flowers or stars, which remind us that we are, each of us, a fractal of source, and that even if we are blue, there is always this possibility of connecting as a fractal of source to the great high frequency of source energy. So I thought that was quite present. Then after that, we have two large circles. The lower circle, again, as I've done in previous CITs, represents, again, a navy blue background on which there is a golden waves. To me, this symbol and this motif or pattern always represents, in a way, the waves represent the challenges that we go through being on Terra, being on Earth, but at the same time, it's weaved with golden. The waves are actually golden, which could represent, in a way, how our challenges are opportunities for us of growth, and that, in a way, they're treasures and jewels that are offered to us in order to grow as a fractal of source. So there's that element there, and that in the midst of these challenging times, there's always source within us, represented by this golden circle with the flower of life that we always have in ourself, in our being, because we are a fractal of source. So we're never alone, we're never disconnected. Then the larger upper circle to me represents stars. So this connection to source, this connection to perhaps our higher self. This, for star seeds, this will probably resonate. For those who are not star seeds, who are earth seeds, this can always also resonate, because we are, we're in a way, we're stardust, all of us. Even if we're earth seeds, we're all stardust. So we're all connected to stars in a way. So they're part of who we are, and the creator. So there's this dichotomy between source energy and incarnation on Terra, with sometimes its challenges, but this is linked together through the bridge of this middle red circle, which to me represents the human heart, where the cosmic wisdom of our beloved heart lies in. And it's something that, again, connects us with source, with the fractal of source that we are when we go through challenging moments and longing and loss of love, or impression of loss of love, because love can never be lost. Love can never be found or lost, because we are love and it's part of who we are. Finally, there is these two elements, these two beautiful branches here, like that leave again towards sky, towards stars, towards source. And to me, they represent a form of blooming and opening yourself to this frequency of high frequency of source. But I also find interesting that in the way it looks, it reminds me a little bit of an insect, or a butterfly. And again, the butterfly is an insect that, or a being that comes from being in the cocoon, in a difficult transitional phase of being in a cocoon, and then emerges from there, this connection, this beautiful opening of its wings and flying in the sky, which again, this whole metaphor can connect us with who we are as incarnated 3D beings that are going through challenging times of transmutation, but that since we are a part of source and fractals of source, we can open our wings and stay connected to this beautiful, beautiful energy. So this is how I feel that the iconography of the background, the music, and the collage all come together to create a beautiful harmony, if you want, of that reminds us of this power of all of us to not succumb to the temptation to feel like victims when we have challenges on Terra. But even if we feel, or we have the impression that we've been separated from loved ones or from source, love is always there. It's never lost. It's never found. It's never lost. So this is it for today. I will now leave you with the actual creation of that collage, while you can listen to the two beautiful pieces of music that were inspired by the guidance, which is my higher self, and my guidance of high frequency. This artwork is not only available on as an original artwork on my online art shop at abigaëllerichard.com/art shop, but also there is a digital file, which is also 8x10, available for download if you want to bring these beautiful energies and message into your sacred space at home. So I wish you a lovely day. And don't lose hope in those difficult transitioning times on Terra. We feel sometimes separated, but we're never separated. And always go within that red little heart of yours inside. And remember that you can always connect to source and the fractal of source that you are. Take great care of yourself. Much love. Bye.
This is why I always wonder. I'm a why I always whisper when vagabonds are passing by. I tend to keep myself away from their goodbyes. Tide will rise and fall along the bay, and I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere. People come and go and walk away, but I am not going anywhere. I am not going anywhere. This is why I always whisper. I'm a river with a spell. I like to hear but not to listen, like to say but not to tell. This is why I always wonder. There's nothing new under the sun. I won't go anywhere, so give my love to everyone. Tide will rise and fall along the bay, and I am not going anywhere. I am not going anywhere. People come and go and walk away,